Okay, so welcome everybody. Congratulations on your purchase of your OneTouch camera kit. And so I'm going to be showing you today quickly how you're going to set things up and obviously get it working so that it's going to be at its very best for you. So what my experience has been with this camera system is that it has been extremely reliable. It's a very good, robust camera, and as long as it's set up properly, it works really great. So when people do have trouble with it, it's just because of some circumstances as to the way that it's set up, which isn't very common that we have problems, but this video kind of introduces you to the camera, how to set it up, how to use it to avoid getting into trouble and making phone calls or sending me messages saying, hey, this thing won't boot, why won't it work right? So this is the camera kit you're going to get. It's going to come in this soft shell right here. And when you open it up, you're going to see we've got a lot of things in here. You've got your hotspot here, and the hotspot, I've tested it for you. Now, I can't test it 100% because it doesn't have an active subscription. But you're going to take this to Verizon and you're going to activate it, and they're going to open it up and they're going to replace the SIM card and get things working for you for the hotspot. I like the I think it's a $40 a month account. It gives you priority service. You want to get that so that you get the best signal priority. And you can turn it off whenever you want to, so you don't have to feel as though, oh, it's $40, I'm going to spend $40 a month on this thing. Just, you can activate it and deactivate it. There might be a small fee for deactivation or activation or whatever, but no, you don't have to spend $40 a month every month, even though you're only racing, 3 times a year or whatever it is you're doing. So you're going to take this to a Verizon store and activate it, and they'll get it working for you. And then on the back, you'll find the hotspot information here, which you sent me, and that allows the camera to connect to this, right? So when you go to use it, what you're going to do is you're just going to push the button and hold it in for a few seconds. You should see a welcome screen, and from there, the next screen should be the Verizon Orbic splash screen. So there it is. If you see a battery symbol instead, that means that it's not actually on, and it's just telling you what the status of the battery is. Okay, so, and then to turn it off, we just hold it for a few seconds, and it'll say powering off, and then that shuts off the hotspot. So we got our hotspot. Inside we also have, I've added a key, an Allen key, and that's for the mount that comes with the kit. And you might find some of these, the way they come from the manufacturer, the paint is a little scuffy. That's not because it's used. It's brand new. These are all brand new parts. It's just that's just the way they send them to me. They're a little bit rough. It's China stuff, right? So there's the Allen head screws. So that's going to mount on your bar, and I recommend you putting this on the bar behind your shoulder. So it's that crossbar that runs behind you. And with this installed, it's going to put it about 5 inches off the bar, which is usually about right. This is where the camera is going to mount. So the camera has a 1/4 inch standard mount, screw hole boss there. And so you're going to spin that on there like that. And then you're going to have this then mounted onto the bar. And I would orient it so that, because it's got this dog leg, I would orient it so the camera is as far back away from the bar, and rather than pushed forward, because you're going to have crew getting in to work on your cool box, and they can bump this with their shoulders, with their helmets, and knock it loose or whatever, and then it's not looking out the window anymore. But yeah, this is an all aluminum, all metal casing. It's actually much better than the ones that we use inside the cars for the Champ car live presentation. So this is probably going to do actually a better job of holding the camera still and not getting knocked loose when it gets bumped into a few times. All right, so that's the mount. And the mount, if you're, it does come with an adapter for GoPro mount. So if you're using a GoPro mount, you can put this on there instead. So that's going to spin on here. And then you can use an enclosure, which I do have the enclosures available. They are not part of the kit because really you don't need an enclosure for it. You can run this outside of the enclosure in the car and you won't have any trouble with it. Which brings me to the tape that I put on them. I know it's kind of washed out, kind of hard to see because of the color of the camera, but there is tape on top of the, covering the microphone and speaker holes for the camera. And that's to keep moisture out. And it also cuts down on wind noise. So be sure and leave the tape on there. And I do put a label on there to tell you to leave those top tapes in place so that, yeah, so that it's protected. I put that on there just for you. So it doesn't come like that from the factory. And then they do have, you'll see a battery in here. You can go ahead and put that battery inside the camera. That will carry the stream through the pit stops for you. So the camera has to be powered all the time from a micro USB cable, and that's included in the kit. So you're going to get a micro USB cable. You're going to get a USB-C cable, and this will be to support the hotspot. If you don't have adequate power to the camera, what it'll do is when you start it, it goes through a boot process and it'll hang. Early on in the boot process, when it tries to activate the Wi-Fi module, it'll just freeze. So you'll be able to see an image, but it won't finish the wire connecting to the wireless connection, which is going to be the hotspot, and it won't connect out to the streaming service either. And it'll just sit there on the screen looking at what's out ahead, but it's not live. And then you can't shut it down or do anything. You actually have to dismount it, open up the door, pull the battery out in order to reset it. And this is all because it's not getting adequate power here at the connector. And so you're going to run into this if you're plugging it into like a 1.1 amp type, connector where it's just really low level amperage, or you're using a cable that's not a fast charging cable that has adequate ability to carry adequate current to the camera. All right, so with that, I'm also giving you get the battery, and then you're also going to get 2 micro SD cards. I've added an extra micro SD card to this because some racetracks work better they have better cellular coverage than others. And because of that, some of them you can run 720p resolution, and others you need to roll it back to 480. So inside the kit, you're going to find I've included a card, a micro SD card for 480. Inside the camera, you're going to find it's already equipped with a 720. So inside the door here, get this oriented right so you kind of see, there it is. There you can see the edge of the card there. So if I just fingernail that and push down on that, it'll eject it. And there I've got my 480, my 720 micro SD card right there. So I'm just going to stick that back in there, push and release, and it should spring back a little bit and lock in. And if it doesn't spring back, sometimes these get the boards get the saddle gets kind of pinchy, and it doesn't release the card very well. And I found that if you just pinch right here next to the card, this is actually pinching the motherboard a little bit, and it will cause that thing to pop loose. So not all cameras do that, but there are a few I've noticed. I've been doing this for a while. I've gone through a lot of cameras. Sometimes those saddles can be a little bit, I don't know if it's warped or what's going on there, but when you stick them in, they may not bounce back to finish the connection, or when you go to take them out, you push it in and it doesn't eject. And I found if I just reach in and squeeze next to the connector, it'll then pop out and I can grab it and pull it out of there, whatever the case may be. My recommendation really is to start with like the 720 card and see how it goes. You know, if you can take it out in practice and run it and the frame rate's real good, then you can run the 720 all weekend. You should be fine. But if you're getting really choppy results, then you might want to, when you get back, take that card out, swap it for the 480, and the only difference is going to be you're going to cut back on the resolution, and that should boost that frame rate for you, and you're going to find it's a much more enjoyable experience. The difference between the 720 and the 480, it's surprising. It's not really that bad. It really isn't. But it is nice to run that 720p if you can. Now I'm going to go to a video where I'll show you how to start the thing up, how to use it on a regular basis. I do recommend that you set up a myraces.live account so that way you get a persistent stream key, a key that never changes as your default key. Unlike YouTube that does change that stream key every couple of years or so, that would be a problem because then you could go to a racetrack, you're excited about getting started and everything, you turn it on, connects to the Wi-Fi, but it can't connect to your YouTube channel because they've changed the stream key. And that's the key that's in the config that's inside those micro SD cards. Now you might be thinking, well, I'm kind of a handy guy with script and IT. I can go in and edit the card myself. And that's true, you can. Just make sure you do not use Notepad, Windows Notepad, because it will put hidden characters at the end of the strings, which will corrupt the script because it's written in a Linux code. So make sure if you're going to edit the script, if you want to dig in there, feel free to message me and I'll tell you exactly where to go, what to use. In order to edit it, and it's pretty obvious once you get to the right file what you're doing. But make sure you're using a Notebook++ or Sublime to do any editing of the cards. If you don't want to mess with it, you don't have any idea what I'm talking about, don't worry about it. I'm happy to create a config for you and send it to you. I can email it to you, send you a link for a download, and you can erase what's on the card and blow the new config onto that card if you want to do that. I can also put it onto a new card and ship it to you if it comes to that. There's also some ways I can log into your computer remotely and do all the changes that need to be done. But that's why I like using myraces.live for the customers. So that way, it's easier because it's just going to stay that way. It's not going to change. They also have the added benefit of any races you do that are over 11 hours and 55 minutes, they'll automatically create that second feed for you because YouTube has an 11 hour and 55 minute DVR limitation where they just quit recording, and then everything after that gets forgotten about. So you miss all that recording. You miss basically the finish of the race. If you're running like a 12 hour, 14 hour, or 24, you just miss all that. Well, the myraces.live account gets around all that by creating additional YouTube streams for you. So, and the nice thing is they're putting everything onto YouTube accounts for you. You don't even have to have your own YouTube account. You can if you want to, and inside the app from myraces.live, you can plug in the event stream ID for that event that you create in your YouTube channel. Or you could say, I'm not going to fiddle with all that. I just want to go into YouTube somewhere where I can get to it and watch it, go back and watch the recording. I don't care about making my own, that kind of thing. Well, myraces.live takes care of all of that. So just a lot of benefits to using their service. Obviously, they have all the overlays they throw on there for you. So you can just put the information on there, what your car number is, what event you're at, and they'll put all of the stats on the screen for you. So it's the position, lap times, where you're at in class. You can go in there and add, which driver's in the car and that kind of thing. So super convenient. myraces.live. You can put your own sponsorship logos on there if you want to. So, and it's free. You can use the free service. If you want to get rid of their logo for some reason, you can get the $15 a month version. And I think they're coming out with a pro version pretty soon. It's going to cost a little bit more. You get even more really cool features that they're working on. So you can check out their website and their Discord server, which I'm on like almost every day. So if you have questions, you want to find out more about MyRaces.live and what that service is, they're continuing to build that out. You can check it out there. All right, if you don't have any equipment, if you don't have anything and you need to get started, you can either buy this whole kit. It comes in a really nice semi-hard shell zipper case, or you can just piecemeal and buy what you need. Let's get started and I'm gonna first talk about the hotspot. So the hotspot turns out is very important because the camera can do a great job. Really what does the heavy lifting for the quality of the stream is going to be your hotspot. Now, what I recommend is the same thing that I use for the show, and that is the Orbic, the RC400L, I think is what it's called. Although they do come with a SIM card, what you're going to do is go online and you're going to set up an account through Verizon, and you're going to purchase the package. And if you set it up as a personal account, you can request priority service, which is what we use. And the priority service is going to give you a little bit better signal, and you should be able to run the higher resolutions, which typically I send them out configured for 480p, 480. So if you want to run 720, I can send out a second card with 720, and you can just change them in and out. And I'll show you a little bit about that here in a minute. But back to the hotspot. Behind it, it's got a removable cover, and then it's got a battery in there, and we just pop that out of there. And behind that is the saddle for the SIM card right there. So when you get your account set up, if you go to the store, they'll actually give you the SIM card right there. But I'll send you the IMEI number. I'll send you all the numbers and everything for it. You'll give that to them or use the website, you'll type it in. And then if it's on the website, of course, they will ship you the card. And then when you get your hotspot, you're going to put that in the hotspot back here. There's a little saddle right there that holds it in place. The way they lock in there is they are slid into place. So we pull them down. You probably didn't hear, there's a little click there. And at that point, the top will fall down. And now that SIM card is ready to come out. So that, you put that back inside there in the same way that you took the other one out. The other one came out. You flip up the lock and you push it away from the connectors and it locks into place. And now it's not going to come out of there. Make sure you get it locked in there because if you just close that down and just leave it, it's going to be loose and it'll just kind of fall out of there and it won't work right. So, and then the battery, it's got 3 contacts right there. They go right here where those pins are located. So that goes in there like this. And then the back cover it says Verizon right there, so you know which way it goes on because it only goes on one way. And Verizon works at really all of the racetracks that I've done shows at, with the exception of Atlanta Motorsports Park. There's just maybe AT&T works well out there, but Verizon has not been working well out there in the years we've been doing it out there. You are going to want to run some software updates on it though. There's a few of them. Just make sure you get through all of those updates and you restart it again to make sure everything is installed, and it's not going to bug you when you get to the racetrack. How do you do that? You just use the menu button on top to cycle through the menu until you get to software update. It's all very cryptic. You hit the button on the front and then it'll say, oh, okay, do you want me to check for updates? And I say yes. Now that this has data on it, it can go out and check for updates. It's going to download the latest update, and then it'll come back and ask me if I want to install it. I'm going to hit the front button again. It'll go through the installation process. And again, this will happen a few times, and then it'll be completely current. Good news is you don't have to do any updates on the Yi. I do all of that for you, and there aren't any more updates to install. It's all done, so you won't ever have to update the firmware on your Yi 4K action camera. All right, so then It uses a USB-C connector, and when you buy the kit, or you can purchase from the website a cable that is USB-C on one side and it's a USB-A on the other side. So you'll snap that in there. You're going to get a 6-foot cable. When you buy it from my website or you buy the kit, you'll get a 6-foot cable. Do not exceed 6 feet on the cables, and they also don't work very well when you use a lesser quality cable. So it's really important. Buy the cables that I sell, or make sure the cable that you have is one of those charging cables that will charge like 100 watts if it needs to make sure that it has the capacity to carry the necessary amount of voltage to the camera and to the hotspot. There's 2 buttons on the hotspot. There's a button on the top, which takes you through the various menus. And then there's a button here, and that's what actually powers it on. So right now it's not on. It's just plugged in and charging. So I'm going to hold that button in, and it says welcome. And that too can be misleading. Sometimes it'll say that when you push the button no matter what. But when you see that splash screen starting up, which is hard to see because it's kind of washed out right now, this is the Verizon splash screen, and at first it says Orbic and then it says Verizon. Once you see that happening, then it's powering up and it's getting ready to connect to the cloud. So you've put your SIM card in there that you've activated through Verizon. I've pre-configured it, so it's already set up and it's going to work for you. All you have to do is turn the thing on, and then it's going to start going through the connection process, right? So you're going to want to mount your hotspot, and its mounting location is important. You're going to want to mount it about where your shoulder is, on that cross, the back support bar. Try to mount it near the camera, up in that area. If you put it down on the floor or someplace kind of concealed, it's probably not going to work very well. That's the Verizon Orbic hotspot. This is the Yi 4K action camera. There are various flavors of this camera, versions of the camera. It has to be this version. When I get the cameras, I do a firmware update, which is really important. The firmware update makes sure that this whole system's going to work smoothly. It also removes that irritating watermark that you see that some guys have. The other thing I do is I put some tape on them, so they are taped against moisture on the top, on the right side and the left side, to cover up all the holes that are related to the speaker and the microphone. So that'll keep water from getting in there. They are relatively water resistant as they are, so you don't really need to do any more to them, especially because it'll be inside the car. We have these outside in torrential downpour for hours, and they pretty much survive that. Now, we do have some additional sealing that we're doing, but the inside cameras that are on the race cars, there's no additional protection that's necessary on these cameras. So on the camera, we have a button on the top, and it's hard to see here, a little bit easier to see on the black camera. You can see the white dot there. That is the power button for the camera. And then on the side, we have a micro USB connection right there. When you connect it, make sure that it's fully seated. It can go in a little crooked and seem like they're seated, but if you just give it a little bit of a wiggle as you're applying pressure, you might get one more final snap as it pops in. The best way to keep that cable from walking out, because they will walk out, it's just strange, but as the cable moves, it will walk that connector right out of there. It actually does happen. Put a little bit of gaffer's tape on it that wraps around beneath the lens and around the back, and that will keep that cable secure so it won't walk out of there. So inside the camera, we have a door right here next to the 1/4-inch mounting hole, and inside here is where the battery goes. So battery goes inside there, and we're going to use the battery to carry the car camera through the pit stops. And then there's a micro SD card that goes inside there as well. Some of these can be a little bit sticky getting in and out, but the SD card is where I put the configuration so that it will be configured to your YouTube channel or your myraces.live account and to the hotspot so that it knows how to connect. Because when you first turn it on, it's going to connect first to your hotspot, and then it's going to connect up to the cloud. That's why it's important that you fill out that configuration form so that I know where we're going to be sending everything. So before we go live with this stuff, we're going to make sure we have the YouTube channel and myraces.live. Everything is set up and ready to go properly. There are instructions that they provide. They recommend that you set up your events in YouTube if you're going to use myraces.live, and you're going to create events for each race day with unique streaming keys that you're also going to plug into the phone app that you use to manage everything at myraces.live. So if you don't want to use myraces.live and you just want this to stream directly to YouTube and just use it from there, then I would still recommend that you considering setting up events and use the default stream key. You may get an alert that says, hey, you're using the default stream key twice, but actually it will be okay. It will just go to the first event and then it'll go to the second event the next day. Just make sure that you activate this system 5 minutes before you set the go time for on the event. If you're just a couple seconds late, it will not show up on your YouTube channel. It'll be extremely disappointing because you're in a hurry and you're trying to get the car on the racetrack. So what I recommend you doing is when you set up your event in YouTube, that you set it up with a countdown that's pretty close to the start of the race. You can always start the camera ahead of time, get it to connect, and everything will be fine. But if you try to start it after like the countdown has completed, it probably will say that it's live, but when you go to your channel, you won't be able to find it. It'll just be kind of going nowhere. All right, so let's say you've got everything set up now on your channel at YouTube or myraces.live and both. Now it's time to use the system. How do we do it? So you've got your camera mounted. You've got some gaffer's tape to hold the cable in there to make sure that it doesn't come out of there. We're going to go ahead and turn on our hotspot. So hold this in. It's mounted in the car. I'm going to release it. It says welcome. And we're just waiting for that splash screen to come up. There it is. So there's the Orbix splash screen. I know it's hard to see. It's kind of washed out, but that's what it is. It's getting connected right now. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and turn on the camera. So you saw I held the button in for about 4 or 5 seconds to make sure I got that welcome screen. We're going to do the same thing with the camera, and we're listening for a chime. Okay, so there we got our chime, and I released it. So what it's going to do, give us a few more chimes, and it's going to go through a scan, which might be difficult for you to see from there. But what it's doing is it's going through the boot process. At this point, the car can roll out onto the racetrack. You don't need to do anything else at this point. It's going to go through and say it's connecting to the Wi-Fi. And then after a few more seconds, it's going to come back and say it's connecting to the server. And that's when it's connecting up to the cloud. So whether it's your YouTube channel or it's connecting to myraces.live or whatever platform you happen to be using. So there's the connecting to server. And now that it's cleared, it'll say live in that upper right-hand corner, and it's now streaming live to that location. And it's really just that simple. You don't have to do anything else to this. When you come in for a pit stop and you kill the power on the car, the battery inside there will carry it through and keep things going until you power the car back up and leave. Now, the battery will give you about a half an hour worth of stream. So if you have to spend some time in the pits working on it, you can just leave it running and you should be okay. But if it's going to take longer than that, you might want to either turn the power back on, at least so it gets charged up, or you might want to consider turning it off, setting up a new event so that when you turn it back on, it'll have something to connect to for the remainder of the race. Then when the race is completed, you're going to come in here and hit this power button, and it'll say, do you want to end the stream? And you're going to say yes, and then it'll go through the process of ending the stream. And then you can just go through the shutdown process. You can also just pull the power from it if you want to. So it says broadcast is ending, and then you swipe down and you hit the power button, you hit OK, and then it shuts down, and that's the end. And then the next day, you turn on the car, get ready to go out, and you do the whole process again. Of course, you're going to want to shut off your hotspot. Another thing you could consider doing is getting one of the mounts. So mount this on the crossbar that's behind the driver near your shoulders. And then you're going to set this so that it's up about 5 inches off of that bar. And by doing it that way, you're most likely going to get it outside of the windshield. So the idea is to have it high enough to where it's going to see outside of the windshield. And we want to have the center of the lens aimed at the windshield. So there's configuration that I set up in here so that it's using what's called spot metering. And what spot metering does is it adjusts the white balance based upon what it's looking at right in the center of the lens. And so if it's not quite at the center of the windshield, if it's a little high or a little low, it's looking at the interior, what's going to happen is it's going to overexpose all of the stuff outside, so you won't be able to make anything out during the stream. So if you go out during practice and it looks like that, it's like, wow, I see the interior really good, but the outside is just all real bright. I can't see any definition. Then what you want to do is maybe adjust that camera, look at the picture carefully and say, where's the center? What's it looking at? Oh, it's kind of looking at the roof maybe a little bit too much. You can get in there and just bend it down a little bit so that it's looking more out the center of the windshield between the top and the bottom. There's other instructions available on the website. There's PDFs. There's other videos that you can check out for additional help for setting up your YouTube channel, your myraces.live. So feel free to take advantage of those, and hopefully this has been helpful. And I look forward to both talking and working with you. So take care. I'll see you at the track.